Good morning, good morning. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. And I gotta turn my camera on so you guys can see all the stuff. Got a lot of moving parts today, so bear with me here. First off, are you guys able to hear and or see my face? I have to turn off the streamer mode so I can see your names. We're also live on YouTube, Twitch, X again, and Kick as well. What's going on, Capitan? What is going on? We got some familiar faces in here so far. Good stuff. So I just got the pre-market guys pulled up. I haven't traded anything yet today, but I did ask. Jackson. Okay. Already in. Hopefully hopefully you're already in the live stream and not AEO. So he asked about American Eagle Outfitters, and I don't like looking at this one for day trades almost ever. But for this one, I kind of like, we went over this not too long ago. It's in a nice area for potential, but it also has some chop that it has to get through, right? So you're kind of entering this zone right here. You got these displacements, you've got consolidation above and below, and then you've got a nice little range above here that the price could very easily walk through. And then the bigger trade is going to be above that. So above maybe $15.50, above $16. You know, that's really where you're going to see more of the potential, in my opinion. But I mean, who knows, right? So this is one of those ones where it's just got a lot of chop. So, you know, when I see alternating candles like this, when I see red and white really mixed in like this, or green and red if you're on a normal color chart, I change mine for accessibility because I stream. But if you have like bullish and candles just mixed and they're all just super chopped up, like you can see that the opening and closing prices don't align from candle to candle, which means there's a lot of shifting from, you know, between sessions during pre-market and after hours. So that it gets a little sketchy on stocks like that. So you got to be very careful. And that automatically tells me that if I'm going to trade these, it means I'm going to use a smaller position, right? You've also got these kind of violent chops within. But this chart is just messy. So personally, that tells me I'd probably go up a time frame to the weekly where you get nice clean action. Now you're going to have bigger ranges, and that's an opportunity for us to use the 1% rule, right? So if you wanted to use like the small red candle strategy that I teach, basically just find an area where the opening price of a red candle to the low of the two lower participating candles, the lowest price of the two participating candles, before that opening price is broken over. That's your risk range. So let's walk through that really quick. Okay. All right. So let's say that you've got, I'm going to change this setting so it doesn't extend to the right. Let's just say that you've got a red candle here. And let's also say that it's got a wick, right? I gotta make this a little bit wider over here. And we're just going to move this up so that it kind of looks a little bit better. Okay, everybody understands what a red candle is. You got the opening price at the top of the body, closing price at the bottom of the body because it closed lower than it opened. And then you've got the high and low of the wick, which is just the highest and lowest points that the price has gone. Okay, so from the time this candle opens, okay, a clock begins. Okay, think of it like a stopwatch. And then the price does whatever it needs to do. And then eventually it settles down here lower for a red candle. Okay, so at some point, this candle opened. It did some stuff. Maybe it went higher. Maybe it went lower. Ultimately, it closed below in order to get the red candle. That has to happen. Okay. And then at some point in the future, you've got another candle. Okay. Which then breaks over that price. All right. So between the one point in time and I can't talk today, and the other point in time, you've got some amount of price variance, right? Like the price has gone up, price has gone down, whatever. That tells me from here back to here that this area here existed. Does that make sense? Just as a concept, like we started here, we came back to the same price point and then broke above, and then something happened between those two instants in time. Okay. Just a 1 in the chat if that makes sense, a 2 in the chat if it makes no sense at all, or just is messy. Okay. So we got a 1 in the chat. So this range right here, okay, just looking at the lower of the two wicks here, that's your risk range. If you want to use a strategy like this, it's just a very simple strategy. It's nothing like super complicated. Now, the size of this kind of determines whether or not we want to take a trade, okay? Because this has to fit our risk tolerance. And if it's too big, we can consider using the 1% rule or something like that. And basically all that does is it says, okay, well, if this total risk range is like 8%, right? That might be a lot for some traders. They might not want to take a risk that big. They can take that 8% down and reduce it to 1%. Yes, everyone else can hear me okay? Alarm clock. He's interested in the strategy. He wants to trade with us today. Poor little guy. So this is the risk range for this approach. Okay, so basically you're just looking for price to break up over that entry, and then all we need in that case is a disproportionately larger profit range, right? And then we can take trades like that over and over and over and over again. And I've gone through this a lot in my stream, so I don't want to harp on it too much today. But if you're interested and you're a newer trader, definitely stick around. I covered a lot. Very, very easy strategy. But here's an example of where that would have worked out for you with a nice tight risk range, right? Because that's always the goal. So if I were to do the same approach on this stock right here, just as an example, you know, this risk range is pretty wide compared to this one right here. Okay, so I would definitely prefer to trade something like this because that risk range is just nice and tight, which means the target is closer, which means I can lock in those profits faster, and I can still use the 1% rule and still get the same exact profit. So as far as American Eagle goes, I like where it's at coming out of this base, but I don't really like where it's heading into right now. You know, you've got wicks up here, you got rejection up here, you've got contention. I just think it's a little bit too low of a risk. Too low of a potential range for right now. Now, ideally, if we can get above and then a retest and then break up to, you know, over $16 or something like that on a retest, that'd be pretty cool. I'd like that, but it's very risky. And then you got to look at the financials as well. You know, so we just really quickly, I don't want to go too long on this because I do have a market open that I have to trade. You know, you got to look at the financials as well. So their quick ratio, current ratio is, the quick ratio is half a percent. It's a 0.56. The current ratio is 1.38. So not spectacular. I like both of those to be over 1. And that just basically means that they have, like, for example, the current ratio, it's total current assets divided by total current liabilities. So that just means that for 1.38 years, if they close their door, they would have enough short-term liquidatable assets to turn into cash and to pay their scheduled debt. So like mortgages, insurance payments, labor, for 1.38 years. So about 16 months, right? And then they'd go out of business. So I want this number to be as high as possible without being unrealistic, okay? Insider ownership is low. Institutional ownership is skewed. That's erroneous. And they don't really have a whole lot in restricted shares. They got about 20 million shares or 15 million shares, which is about 10% of their shares. So they could dilute this if they needed to raise cash to cover these short-term expenses in the event of something happening. So definitely worth watching the headlines and all that good stuff. So then we look at things like the free cash flow, and they're basically just seeing how much money is available to the market and whether or not they're willing to reward shareholders. Because that's what we're interested in as traders. So this would not be a day trade. It would be probably a longer term swing with a very small position, in my opinion. And that's probably about the best you're going to get. So in my opinion, there's better opportunities. I don't personally like this. Shut up, Ad. And I also don't like this inconsistent free cash flow. Okay. So it's just sketchy, in my opinion. Doesn't mean they're not a good company or that they don't have financial strength. It just, I don't see it right now. You know, I want to see cash growth, and this negative cash growth here is that's kind of a red flag combined with the other stuff like the very low current ratio and the sub 1 quick ratio. So that's how I would do it. I would place a single buy with a tight stop loss, you know, small position, and then that would just be it. I wouldn't be looking to trade a whole bunch. Hey, what's going on, Got Milk? Sorry, buddy, I didn't see you there on YouTube. Let me put the link in the Discord for you as well. Just if you're not, I gotta find it for you. Sorry. Give me 1 second, sir. Don't hit me. Where did it go? people go in and change my stuff around. Sorry about that. All right, I might just have to make a new one here. Yeah, let me just make a new one for you. Sorry about that. I'll just go in here. And there you go. So I put the ticker at the bottom of the screen for you there in the YouTube and social media. Sorry about that. Feel free to hop in there, buddy. It's a little bit, there's less of a delay. So if you're going to be trading along with us for these market open scalps and things, that delay could absolutely kill you. So I'm just kind of peeking around, seeing what I see in the market. So for those who are new to the stream, or for those who just need a reminder, I use two 50% trades. So, well, a 50% trade and then a 48% trade. So there's currently $130 in this account. So it'll be $65 per trade roughly. And then plus or minus, because the shares are going to cost exactly 65 or slightly off of that, or maybe even significantly off of that. So that'll kind of determine how much I can put into each trade, and then that'll determine what I can actually buy and sell. So we're in auction cross right now, which is why I want to start looking. And I don't really see a lot of volume pre-market here today. So it looks like we might just have one of those mornings where it's best maybe just kind of hang out for a little bit. Like this one's getting a lot of good spot volume, you know, but there's nothing really here on the book. So I can't really justify buying and holding that for a bigger run. You know, it's likely to chop. So we'll just kind of go ahead and hang out and see what happens here. So CLDI, I love this one. I've traded the hell out of this one. Unfortunately, it's pretty diluted compared to the stuff that I usually trade in the morning. So I do like it, and I do know it has a lot of potential, but I don't like seeing it do this. You know, it's got decent volume for the day. It's got 43 million shares, which exceeds its float in terms of volume, which is good. That's one of the main things I look for. But I just don't like it here. Okay. Blame it on Lil Wayne being AEO's mascot before Sydney. Well, I think they might have upgraded a little bit there. I don't think they look the same in the jeans. I'll let the audience decide. So, yeah, I'm just kind of shopping around a little bit. We got about 3 minutes till market open. And I really feel like it's probably going to be one of these lower percentage ones for the morning that's probably going to show the best yield. So this one's getting a lot of volume so far. It's got over 100K volume in the last 2 minutes. So not great, but for something this size, you know, these are the ones that have potential. It's 2 million. Now this one has a lot of restricted shares, so we're going to go ahead and just wait and see what this one does. What I would like to see, though, is a bigger wall in the ask. So this one's got potential to come down to 441. You know, that's down here, basically. And I know a lot of traders are going to be looking for a retrace. So that's going to be... Did the wrong button, guys. So they're going to try to look to hold it. Retail traders are going to try to hold it. They don't matter. Like that's... We're just a drop in the bucket. It's all about the banks that are fighting each other. You know, don't ever feel like we as a team can rally. Sorry, this is AEHL. I'm just shopping around. I haven't really committed to any tickers yet, Tammy. Sorry about that. I will definitely call it out when I get into a trade, and I'll walk you guys through it like I do. So just kind of looking around. We've traded STAI as well. We like that one. Now this is a sub-dollar stock, so I can't trade it if it's 97 cents, and I can only do $65 per buy. So I have to kind of wait till that gets over $1 anyway. Same with CLDI, right? So it looks like we might just not get a trade pre-market here, and that's okay. I don't want to rush into stuff just to have it. I think AEHL might show the most promise here, but again, I don't really see anything significant on the order book just yet. I like the 605 wall, but I want it to be bigger. So there's just too much. There we go. We got an $8 wall. All right. So I think I might go ahead and grab some AEHL if I can get in. Okay. So this is a little bit risky, obviously. So I'm going to set my sell order up right now. And we can calculate our 6%. 576 plus 6%. It's going to be 611. So let me just draw a line there. I'll just move this line up. Okay, now this one's going to have some volatility. It is a low float stock. It's 2.32 million. So please don't copy me. Do not blindly copy me or anybody else. This is the highest risk type of trade because we're grabbing it into market open. And It's super risky. So don't do that to yourselves, because I'll be able to react faster than you ever will, especially if you're on YouTube or anything like that. So, and it's already kind of, I don't want it to go below this zone, which it very well may. So let me take a drink of my Gatorade while the market opens, as a responsible trader would. And we'll see where that goes. Yeah, bracket orders do not work during extended hours because they're based on market price. All right, so market is open. So let me sell my 611 sell order, and we'll just let that do its thing. And then we will, we'll kind of have to look around on here, but Webull takes a little bit for it to warm up and let the price kind of update. So we'll just go ahead and let that kind of refresh itself for the day, because sometimes it'll show like negative numbers up here. All right, so I'm just going to kind of look around here a little bit, keeping an eye on this number here as well. It's going to be violent, right? It's going to go up and down pretty violently. So CLBI is that's selling off a little bit. SLRX is showing a little bit of green, but that's a pretty rough push to the downside there. So I don't want to jump into stuff like that necessarily, just because I see a little bit of bullishness. Okay. Also, let me make sure. Okay, sorry, I had to make sure my that I wasn't muted. I always am paranoid about that. All right, so STAI is showing a little bit of a stall here. So this is probably one that like Chris would scalp. Is Chris here today? I'm willing to bet he's in this one. I was gonna say I like that that move right there, but that's the risky stuff, right? So this is kind of when I start looking at a stock. It's got the potential for it. Definitely has the juice, and we just want to see more of a sustained push. So also, let me kind of move this over here. I think I'll leave this in place for right now on AEHL. I don't want to do anything. No, you know what? I'm going to get rid of that. We're going to trade that a little more aggressively. So I'm seeing stuff here on the order book and time and sales that I kind of like. So I'll just sell this one manually. Fubo, you have a swing position. We like Fubo. All right, so remember 611 is the sell range on this one. So I'll lock the initial profits about 611, and then we'll watch the volume pour in 650 up here. Let me just draw my line, make that a dashed line, and then I'll just continue to shop around a little bit. Yeah, SLRX halted. That is, so this is, again, unfortunately, you know, you get like super low float stuff like this. If it gets a big surge in contention at market open, you know, they're not adjusted in a lot of times unless they halt, you know, or unless they're being monitored pre-market, and stuff like this can absolutely halt right at open, and then people are stuck, and then you get craziness. So AEHL also halted. So you gotta just be a little bit careful with that stuff. STAI, yeah, that's why we wait for that sustained move, guys. We don't want to just grab the first piece of bullishness. That's where it gets pretty bloody. Kind of like this one, SCNI. It's got some inconsistent volume though, so we got to be careful with that. But it does have a lot of strength on the order book. So this is one we can look for a push, pull, push, and maybe grab our trade on that one. So I kind of like, this is probably going to halt though too, right? So let's watch this $3 wall. Okay, it's got 9,008 units. Let's just go ahead and watch. They're going to slap some volume threshold tests in the way. 89. They keep adding to it. Now it's pulled and it's going on the ask side. So we'll draw a line here at $3. Okay. And then you get a break over and then probably run up into a halt. Because in theory, that should have just blasted right over that $3 level. So they're going to want a little bit of a pullback here. So 350 on this one. And this ticker is SCNI. There's the pushover. And we'll watch this 330, 350 wall shoot up to the top. There's a 323, 325 smaller wall. So let's watch the test here at 325. Got pulled. So So it should run straight up to 350 in theory, right? It's just consuming all these small walls all along the way. There's like just sheer force. Now they're starting to put some bid walls up on the smaller side, so 320, right? So if that falls below 320, I wouldn't want to look at it. But doesn't mean we can't trade the hell out of it on a retest. If we get what we like, we can watch it. But I want a clean retest here. So 320 up to 350. If that just keeps going, there's really not much we can do about that, and that's okay. Right, so we're going to watch this 321, 320 wall. There's also one at 314, 313, all the way down to 3. Okay, so I really just want to see if it gives me what I want. So just push through that. Now I want to see a break back over that level. And it doesn't look like we're getting that immediately, so we're going to wait for another pushback over 322. So I'm looking right here on the order book. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and get in. Now this is obviously high risk, so if it goes down too far, I don't want to be in it. I'm just looking for a clean pop up to 350 or somewhere around there. We got a wall at 338 as well. There's my 3%. Let's see if we can get a clean run up to 350. And that's how you grab pullback. Probably going to lock these profits here in these wicks. I'm out. I don't like what it's doing right here. I don't want it to stall, basically. So it can continue, and that's fine, but I don't like it puttering around up here in an area of previous rejection. So I just chose to get out right there, because the alternate scenario here that I have to be considerate of is that this rejects and goes all the way down below this line at 3. Okay. So I'd rather just take the profit and move on with my day. I don't want to have to fight. What was the time on this one? It was 9:32, 9:36. So we got AEHL should be unhalting here in a little bit. Can I give SLRX a look? Yeah, for sure. It's halted. That's been halted for 4 minutes almost. So this one, again, it's coming down into market open. So it may pop up, but unless I see some sort of sustained uptrend here, it's just going to continue this downtrend in most cases, right? So I'd rather just catch stuff that's already moving up and just going with the trend. So it's good for little pops and stuff potentially, but the risk is very high here for continuation to the downside. Okay. And if you zoom out, when the strength is there, it's great, but when it sells off, it's a slow death. So like right there at $2, it's puttering. So I'd probably just have jumped out right there, like just little pops. I do got to come back over to AEHL though, because that one should be updating, unhalting here pretty soon. And this one has potential to run right into another halt as well, whether it's the upside or downside. So it depends on whether or not the exchange is adjusting it, because this was the volume yesterday was sub 1,000 candles. So they're probably not going to adjust this one, which means we're probably going to go halt to halt. Actually, let me set a seller on this one at 648 just for funsies, just so it's there. So for AEHL, I've set a sell order for all my shares at 648 just in case. I don't want to get stuck in a halt here. And this one, as we know, could halt right before then as well, just to mess with us, right? That's how the market is. SoFi is up 16%, good earnings. Oh, okay, I'll pop over there real quick. Oh, that's a beautiful pullback. So there's that little red candle strategy I was talking about. That is beautiful. And let's see where your walls are. Yeah, 25, 24.40, 24.80. Okay, so if that breaks over 24.80, that could be good. 25 is up here. And then 24.40 is down here. So that should be your range. And this is your breakout range. Okay. I like it. Good stuff. So this one's taking a little bit longer, which means that they're probably manually reviewing it, which increases the likelihood of them adjusting that threshold, which is good for us, or for me anyway. Now, is anybody here blindly copying Pookie? There's no wrong answers. I just need to know if people are copying me and like, are you guys copying or are you just trading what you can justify based on what you see? Because I don't want anybody to copy me or anybody else. My goal is to get you guys into a position of independence, right? You busy taking profits on your swings. Good stuff, Tammy. Can't keep up with the trades. Yeah, I'm doing these fast. Like, these are very fast moving scalps. My hope here is that you guys get the concepts rather than just copying. As often as possible. Oh no. Oh no. Everyone be like Tammy. Focus on locking profits. My goal as a trader is only to, like, I only have 2 jobs, right? I got to find low risk, high potential opportunities. And then as soon as I'm in, my job transitions completely over to just getting out of stuff, right? You're not looking to continue doing a bunch of analysis when you're in something, because that's extra work, unless you're scalping and you know, that same analysis kind of has to carry through the volume if you want to, you know, capitulate your losses and all that good stuff. Wow, SLRX, that's insane. So there's no pullback on this, right? It's just going halt to halt. And that's ideally what we see with this one. Actually, I'm going to erase that. I'm getting rid of my sell order there at 650 or 640 on AEHL. Just a judgment call. But that's what we saw here, right? We see, or not this one, sorry. This is the one where we have the trade range. So we're looking for the breakout. Which one was it that we were just looking at? I can't remember. RBRK just blew up for you today? What's that? We were just looking at that one yesterday. Was it yesterday? I think we were looking at it on the live stream, right? Rubric. Was it yesterday or was it Friday? Had to be yesterday. Yeah? Okay. I'm losing my mind over here. Yesterday. Okay, cool. That's good stuff, man. Congrats. Now, do you have a plan to scale out and secure profits? It might have been this one we were just looking at. SCNI. Yeah, that's the one that was in the downtrend into open, right? Or no, it was the other one. Okay. Yeah, this is the one we were looking for the oh no, that's, yeah, this is the one. This is the one we traded, right? And we saw it wicking around up here. Yeah, this is what I was trying to point out. You know, we saw it wicking, and I just didn't like it puttering around here. And then we got out before, you know, yes, it did come back up, but we got out before this red candle here, right? Which could potentially lead to another, which leads to another, and all that good stuff. So I just don't want to fight with it. I got a little spam situation there on Kick. I don't like that platform. Sorry, Kick CEO, if you're in my chat right now. There we go. All right, so we got a little bit of a push here on AEHL. All right, going to manually sell the majority of my shares right there around 650. I think I got filled at, what was the price on that? 644. Okay, so I was about 4 cents off from my target. And then I have my remaining 3 shares, and now there's a lot less pressure here because I've got plenty of secured profits, so that the drawdown required to give those profits back on these 3 remaining shares would be so much more. Plus I have all the upside potential, so I'm okay with this. So we'll just kind of hang out and watch. I do have to keep my hand on the keyboard though, because if that rips over like $7.50, $8, then I kind of want to be prepared for that. Could also fall down to like $4. And again, I'd still be net profitable, but that would be unnecessary loss, right? Started at 6 contracts down to 2. Good stuff. That's on your RBRK. Are you doing options on that or just shares? Probably options for you, right? Options. Okay. Cool, man. Good stuff. You got a plan for those profits? You're going to shove them all over into passive income? All right. So I don't see anything major on the wall here except on the bid side. So There's a couple small walls that are higher up on the ask side, so we'll see if this can get up to like 625-ish. That's kind of where these walls are, 620, 625. Then we got some more at 650 and then 664. But the bid side walls are a lot more inducing here. So we'll see if the volume is strong enough to sustain or if it's going to fall down. So there's 620. We just tapped it. 623. Okay, there we go. So now we're going up. So now we could potentially see 664. So let me just move this line up. Okay. And then what do we got beyond that? 704. There we go. So the larger walls start to come out and play once we break, once we kind of force the algos to adapt a little bit. Again, these are just other banks that are trying to consume each other. So that's all we got to do is just be in when the price is going up. I guess it's as simple as we can make that. You're still in build mode. That's fair. Okay, AMD has been doing great. Earnings coming up, though. Always a dilemma for me to hold during earnings, even if it's a good stock. So in that case, Tammy, we can always hedge, right? So if you have some shares, you don't want to sell them, you can always buy a smaller cost put as an insurance policy. And I want you to talk to Bull about that because I feel like that would definitely take a lot of that pressure off you. And if the price goes down, you know, that put will offset your losses, your drawdown on the shares. And then you can always just buy more shares if you want, if it's a good quality investment. I think I'm going to go ahead and get out of that. Yeah, I'm out of AEHL. Looks like it might be going right into a halt. Oh, my luck is, I have immaculate luck when it comes to these halts. I could have very easily got stuck in that. Doesn't mean it's going to keep going down or that it's going to blast to the upside. It's just that last second exit was close. Very close. All right, so we started today with 129.99 and we end the day with 135.43. I probably still have a little bit of settled cash today, but I'm not going to do anything with that. I took my 2 trades for the day. Okay, I followed my plan for the day. So let me come over here. And I've got to update my streak. W. Okay. And for those who don't know, I shared this yesterday on the stream. If you guys can see this, you probably can't because the camera. There we go. So basically, I wrote a little a widget here on for OBS so that like WW here just means that I've followed my plan 2 days in a row. The X's are just unused days, and if I deviate, it's an L, and then that just shows a red circle. So let me update that, and you guys can see it. Okay, can you guys see that on the screen? The little red dot or green dots, sorry. I hope so. Let me just point that out as well, just so people know where to look. So here is my OBS, and it's these 2 green dots right here. Okay, so I followed my plan for the last 2 days, right? I still have 3 more days this week. Yeah, let's take a look at our DRRX. Again, this is another one. Like, so this kind of day in the market, you're going to see the volume, like the mass audience is just going to hop from ticker to ticker. Okay, they're going to look for stuff that's running, has high disproportionate volume, and isn't yet halted. And unfortunately, because there's not a lot of market pre-market volume, you're going to see a lot of halts today. So that's why just getting in, getting out is key on days like this, because you're going to see stuff like this one right here, STI. We've traded the hell out of this as a nice, beautiful 5 candle impulse to the upside with a low, the low risk red candle strategy, right? The same thing we went over at the start of the stream. Very simple, very easy strategy. You got plenty of zone recovery algo presence on this, and this one also could potentially halt. So let's look at well, it's pretty diluted. So, this is probably a better bet than DRRX, which halted, right? So it's just one of those days where the one stock that is the most attractive is going to get all the volume until it halts, and then that volume is going to pull off and go to the next, and then it's going to go to the next. And then what it's going to leave is little breadcrumbs of people that are stuck in these halts. And they're just going to get trapped and trapped and trapped. And some of them are going to stay in because things are halting to the upside and they think that's, continuation guaranteed. Some people, unfortunately, are going to get halted to the downside. And, maybe they panic sell. Maybe the price blasts, maybe it goes up. It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, what matters is that when that stock unhalts, there's potential for a significant jump in price. And that's where people get hurt. So if we look at AEHL, for example, this one halted to the downside here. That price could open up down here. It could also open up here. We don't know where it's going to open, and we don't want to get stuck in it, So sometimes we get stuck, and sometimes, it just happens. And that's why I always make it a point to lock the bulk of my shares early at a reasonable profit. Like this had a lot of volume on it, and that's why I locked those shares. It wasn't just because the price was up here. That volume came in, and that was a huge surge of volume over a short amount of time. So I could tell, the ebb and flow of the market was just kind of focusing on this stock for a little while. And then it just kind of stalled a little bit, and they went somewhere else, right? Does that make sense? Like, think of it like zombies, right? The market is full of zombies. They're just going to chase whatever tantalizing piece of human meat is walking in front of them, okay? Someone else over here on STAI, for example, might start banging on the side of a dumpster, and all those zombies are going to come over there, right? It's stuff that pops up on their screeners. These algos are programmed to do it automatically, so that's where most of this stuff comes from. There's just little signatures in the volume profile that these guys they jump on, right? It's way faster and way more efficient than any human could ever be. But in a market condition like this, when that happens and you didn't have a lot of pre-market volume, you're just going to see halt after halt after halt until maybe like 10:30, 11 o'clock in the morning in most cases. So we can watch this. I can maybe trade one share or something, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to break my trading plan. Because then I'd have to move my green to a red. I'd have to move my penny down for the day. But I mean, at this point, you can pretty much grab any candle with a tight risk and probably be okay until it halts, right? And then you're in a world of hurt. So like right here, for example, you've got disproportionate volume, and that probably right there just halted. That same candle, that was a 5.2% candle. And it just went right up into a halt. And you see how close these, oh no, it didn't halt. That was weird. Maybe it's just my Weevil. Looked like it halted. But did you guys see how close that wall was up there on the bid side? Did they really just trap that up there? Did you guys all see that on your screen? Or was it just on mine? That was weird. Anyway, here's a 250 wall. So let's watch what happens here at 250. All right, so let's watch this 33, 25, 24. So they're going to pull this wall, and you're going to see a couple. Yep, they add the walls on this side, and then you get a breakover. But we need to look down here at 235, right? So let's watch here at 235. That establishes a range. And then what we'd like to see is a pullback of no more than 235, maybe like a cent or two below, if at all. And then a push back over that level at 250. Okay. You don't just want to blindly buy at 250 in most cases. Okay, so did it paused on yours? Yeah, that was weird. Maybe they just shoved a wall right there and just wanted to test it. That was interesting. I thought it was just me though. All right, so this candle is currently 8%. So at this point, you got to start getting scared about a halt, right? You got massive volume here pouring in. It's way bigger than any other candle here. Yeah, they're doing this with the walls. Look at that. I wonder if they're trying to scare people into thinking it halted so they can get their stops. That's amazing. Yeah, okay, it actually halted that time. That was sketchy. I'm telling you guys, they do some grimy stuff. They just faked a halt. That was hilarious. It's on the recording. That's gonna be good. Yeah, see, here's another SLRX halted. Boom. So now we just watch and see where they went. They all came over to STAI. So this will be the next one to blast probably. But you also have to consider, like, where's the volume, right? Like, where's the peaks and valleys in the volume here? This one doesn't have good, sustained, consistent volume. So in a situation like this, you know, we should be looking to take profits at this point, not get in, right? So there's going to be probably some massive pops on this one. And we can watch the, you know, it's 41.18 million float. So let's just watch and see if we get our, you know, 6% candle. 4% means it pops up on people's screeners. And that means it usually jumps to 8%. Right? So let's watch. We'll look at the order book and we'll wait for the halt because this one's probably going to halt, right? We're already starting to climb up on the volume. Previous candle was 1.4. This is 1.6. There's our 6.5% so far. So there's a wall. There's a series of volume threshold tests here through 115 through 120, and then 128 is a bigger wall. So let's look at that. 120, 128. Okay, so that's a pretty big move there. This is a 7% candle. It's about to jump up to 8. And then at that point, that's when it gets scary, right? So that was 7.11%, which is good. You know, that means it didn't quite hit 8% on one candle, but scary, right? Now, given the volume profile here, like this one gets little pops in volume and then falls off. So this is just kind of like it's a backup fuel tank for everybody. So when that volume falls back off, you know, a lot of people are going to get hurt. So we'll just keep watching. We also have a wall at 105 to catch it on the downside. So this will be our pullback level. Okay. So now we know that 128 or 105 is likely to be hit, which means that we can start developing a thesis for a trade, right? Now we watch paint dry. This is the boring part. Now, is that likely to happen in the next couple minutes before DRRX or SLRX unhalt? Maybe, maybe not, right? We don't know that. So if we want to trade something, we need to make sure it's tight risk and that we get in and out before that volume halts on us. And that's the best we can do. So either I need to see a small red candle getting close to this line at 105 that gets overtaken and pushed to the upside on increasing volume, or I need to just sit it out. Right? Does that concept make sense? So we've determined the range by using the order book. We can tell that they want to pull it up, and now they want to pull it up. You know, but previously they wanted to pull it down first. There's a big wall here at 85 cents, which is well below here, which is where that's where I see it going. But we've got an opportunity here to participate between here and here. So if we don't get our setup, there's no ability to participate. There's no need. So we got three things to look out for. We've got the ebb and flow of volume. We've got the halt factors on this stock and other stocks. And we've also got the actual analysis for this one itself. So we have a range. Now we look for a setup. That setup would be a pattern down here that we like with low risk, high potential. And then we look for a confirmation. And then we've got just peek in here, 9:53. We got about a minute left for DRRX and SLRX. So at this point, I'm not seeing what I like, so I wouldn't be trading this one. DRRX was called out in Stock Alerts Light as one to watch from 220 to 242. Yeah, he's a good momentum breakout setup. I don't really like the levels, right? So the goal with any of these alert channels isn't for you guys to just copy the levels. Unless you're doing Lee's watch list, because he specifically plots the levels for breakouts and stuff. But when it comes to the outside analysts, like honestly, I just want you guys to get the tickers. Just find your own setups in those tickers. Make sure your risk is small. Because if you look at Stock Alerts Light, for example, he's got an incredible win rate. You know, that's why he's here in the server. But the drawdown on those can be pretty significant. So if you hit maybe 3 or 4 in a row that go against you, you know, you're going to need even more wins from that same pool of alerts to compensate for that. But if you look at that same set of alerts, oh, there we go. This is unopened. It's open. But if you look at that same, you know, set of tickers, you can find a bunch of better opportunities within those. So that's my goal. Is I want you guys just to use all the alert channels as a watch list more than anything, and then find your own setups. All right, there's a wall here at 280. Let's see where that one goes. We got just plot that up here at 280. Plot, plot. And then they don't have anything set up here to catch it on the bid side. So we'll stick with the 250, 235 because those are likely to reemerge once the price pulls back. So we can watch this 235 level. We'll see if we get a wall that just magically pops up when the price gets close, or if it's just going to blast right through it. There's a small wall there. It's not that great. Bam, 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 bam. Yeah, so they're dancing around a little bit here. It's hard to see because you guys are watching the screen share, so you're probably not going to see it all. But very, very small wall, 225, 235. Now the bigger wall here is 280. Obviously, that's where they want the price to go, but it just seems like they're stretching a spring at this point. So no need to jump into any of these. Okay, so the price is definitely FOMOing a little bit here, right? We came back. We didn't really test the 235 levels. So we don't really have any sign of strength off of there. So there's going to be a lot of FOMO, a lot of anticipatory entries in this area. But we know to kind of sit this out for right now. You sold DRX at 253. Nice. Nice, dude. It was right below the peak there. Sorry, I just saw your message for some reason. It was 6 minutes ago that you wrote that. All right, so price is coming back down a little bit here. Let's see how it behaves here at 235. And there's still that 280 wall on the ask side. So as the candle's pulling down like this, that's not the time to get in. Don't just blindly buy stuff. That looks like it halted. Yeah, don't just blindly buy stuff on the way down, guys. There's 237 wall, so I wonder if they're suppressing it here as well. Now it actually halted. Okay, good. Interesting. All right, let's peek back over here at STAI. All right, so we got a 120, 128 wall. So let's plot the 120, see how it behaves. And it's 32, 326. So let's watch that 32. Now it's 31. Are you guys able to see the order book, by the way, on the Discord or YouTube? Let's watch this 32K wall here. I don't know if the numbers are clear. It's blurry. Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, there's no way to make this bigger that I can see. I can only make it more or less compact, unfortunately. Damn. Yeah, I really wish there was a way to make that, like, the numbers bigger. That'd be pretty cool. So there's a 120 wall here at 30,000 units. So let's just watch it. There's volume threshold test in the way. This is probably going to break here as long as the volume thresholds pass, which they are so far. So there's 118, 119 volume thresholds. They're getting chipped down, and this 118 is about to get pulled, which means the 120 should also get pulled, and they'll put some extra walls here on the bid side. So I'm just going to watch this 120 wall. It's 32,000 still. It was 33 at some point. They're really adding a lot to this 118 wall, so they're trying to assess. There we go. It's pulled. 119 wall is gone almost. It's got 140. They keep adding to these volume threshold tests, so they really want to make sure there's enough juice here. So this tells me this is a bigger zone recovery algo. So there we go. So it went from like 32 down to 27, down to like 14, down to 10K, and then they pulled it, and now it's over here on the bid side. So that's a huge sign of strength in my opinion. So now we watch the 125 level, and again, we don't just blindly buy because it broke right there. We look for the pullback, right? You look for a pullback and a retest or a revisit of that level. In this case, right? There's two different types of this algo. It's hard to explain. But right now we just need to make sure that retest is going to fail. So as soon as it breaks over like 122, we can look for an entry. Otherwise, I mean, I'm not going to be trading on this because I'm already done for the day, but a clean break over 122 would be good, or a break down to 110. So let me move this up here. Okay. So there's either going to be a retest and then a push, or a break over 122 for us to look for a bigger push up to maybe 148, 150. So let me just plot that as well. Okay. And that's all we can do. And then you can just come up to the 5 minute and look like a badass. And you can say, oh man, I grabbed that break out of 122. It was pretty fun. That's about all you can do, right? But you don't just want to catch when it's that specific configuration of zone recovery algo. There's the heartbeat and the stall, right? This is where it comes from. And then there's the break. So that would be the entry with a tight risk and then a tight take profit. Sometimes it goes, sometimes it don't. And that looks like it might halt as well. You got plateauing volume here. Crayfish can't hear. There we go. So it's kind of puttering around a little bit here. So there's some tightening here in the order book. We don't really want to get caught in that. So at this point, you might scale out for most of your position and just keep it nice and tight. Because remember, this was supposed to just absolutely blast up to 150, right? So it might still do that. There's a heartbeat and a stall. It's ramming into that and it just broke over. But it really just has to go. Like we don't want to see it go sideways or anything like that. That probably just halted. Oh no, it didn't halt. Okay. Man, Webull is weird today. So again, we don't want to see wicks. We don't want to see it going sideways. We don't want to see lower lows on candles. We just want to see a clean, strong push up to 150 or around there, right? Now, they're going to manipulate the price a little bit. They're going to try to leg up on each other. Remember, these are institutions that are fighting each other. So they're trying to trick each other's algos into kind of going first. And that's, again, when you see stuff like this, that's why you kind of scale back a little bit. If you're doing the momentum breakout scalps, because you don't want to hold them down, you know, on those pullbacks. Just you want to get in when the volume is strong and present, and then when it kind of ebbs out, or if the price goes sideways, that's just a less confident move. And then you can always just save your money for another opportunity. So we'll go ahead and watch it. There's still plenty of volume here, still plenty of strength so far. But we really want those clean pushes. Now we got 3 wicks in a row, right? And they all seem to be struggling around this 122 level, right? I don't think that's a coincidence. There we go. So they just pulled another 122. Here's a 123. You got 1500, 2200, 3K. So they're adding to the 123 wall. That's a small wall. Oh, crayfish. Yeah. That's Discord likes to just randomly change settings sometimes. That sucks. All right. So at this point, you know, it'd be very confident. It'd be very easy for me to say, yes, I'm confident this is going to the upside, but I don't know that, right? And that's never our job. Our job is never to predict. It's to say there's a likelihood it can go up. And if it does, I can estimate roughly how far it is likely to go. But your job as a trader and my job as a trader is to identify what specifically I'll do when it doesn't do that. When it does anything other than what I think it might do. In the direction it's going to make me money, I need to figure out what specifically I can do to protect myself above anything else, right? And that'll keep you out of a lot of, stress territory if the price comes all the way down to here and you're like, it'll come back, or you can't buy anymore because you're on a small account and it's sub-dollar now, so you can't buy the 100 shares. So now you're down, I don't know how many percent that is. That's a lot, 23%, and then you're unable to average down, which again, that's also not a great idea on stuff like this. So it's just risky biscuits. So DRRX and SLRX have both halted again. So that's why we're seeing this surge in volume here on STAI, but it's just not able to hold. So it's just that day, and we're after the 10 o'clock mark. We're going to see a lot of push and pull in the market, and we just need to be like Pookie and just get in and out, right? So let me ask in the chat. Put a 1 in the chat if you are, if you had a successful trading day, and a 2 in the chat if you deviated from your trading plan. What I mean by success is not profit. I don't care if you made a profit. I mean, awesome if you did. But did you follow your trading plan? Charlie says 1 right off the bat. Answered quick. Love it. So did you have small losses and disproportionately larger profits, or just small losses, or just disproportionately larger profits? There's only 3 outcomes there. a fourth if you didn't trade, which is also okay. Charlie just had some small losses. Good stuff. Fergie says successful but not profitable. Capitan says 4. So that means you didn't trade. Mac Half Def says risky biscuits and gravy for breakfast. Oh no. Halted and stop lost out. Okay. Did you do like one trade? You're doing like a one and done? Okay. How did that P&L wise, percentage wise, how'd that affect you? No trades, just listen to Wall Street 72. You have the best risk management here, buddy. You didn't risk anything and you made a profit in terms of education and experience. So good stuff. Charlie says red, but with risk management in place, it's more like light orange. Okay. That's solid. So you took losses and you took them well, right? That's the best thing you could ever do as a trader. Nova Spire, 2.8% stop loss, bought quickly, STAI. I Charlie took it on the chin. Yeah. Can we take a look at SOAR again? Yeah, I don't... I typed SOAP for some reason. I don't like this one, personally. What do you like about it? Like when you see... I'll just tell you guys right now. So if you look at the volume, okay, at the bottom of the screen throughout the day, and if you see peaks and valleys like this, where it looks like a city skyline, but not a good city, you know, this is the dangerous kind of stock to trade, right? This is good where it ramps up pretty consistently, but you still get these little gaps here, like this big one, and then that huge sell-off or fall off in volume. You know, that's the kind of stuff you got to be super careful with. So when you got full volume 1 minute, and then within 60 seconds, you got less than half of that volume, that just tells me there's a huge ebb and flow in volume, which means that you're likely to get hurt more often than not. What we're looking for is strong, sustained volume and consistently directional volume, right? So if we look at STAI, you know, we can see the same kind of behavior. There's inconsistent volume here. So we really have to trade during a block like this where the volume is like consistent, right? And even here, like this is dangerous, right? Because you got big volume, small volume, decent volume, semi-decent volume, semi-decent volume, less, right? So your volume is falling off from here to here. Okay. And now your volume is falling off from here to here as well. So this is not a time to be trading STAI on the 1 minute anyway, if you're going to be looking for that strong, sustained directional volume, because you've got directional maybe, you've got strong maybe, but you don't have sustained volume, which means that unless you're getting out in like 2% moves, you're probably going to have a very hard time. This one too, SLRX. This is why I don't like this one. So it was coming down into market open during a strong pull to the downside. You've got super inconsistent volume. A lot of that's due to halts. You've got gaps between candles. It's very difficult to trade this. So this is just one that I wouldn't touch personally. You know, and it takes a little practice and a little experience to kind of see that stuff. But, you know, like this right here is a wonderful setup for that low risk, the small red candle strategy, but it's missing a critical component and that you don't have that strong directional volume. So we can draw it and we can watch it and we can feel good and collect the data. But ultimately, if we're looking to risk real money on something like this, we don't have everything that we need. And it's our job to be super fussy about where we put our money. So if and only if this ever breaks over that price point of $2.20 on this one, would there be an entry? So that'd be an opportunity for like a buy stop if we're simulating. Again, this is just for data. Don't copy this or anything like that. I'm just showing you guys the setup. So there's no entry on this one. It's obviously pulling down, right? And then this risk range is just too big, right? So at this point, we're dealing with 4% risk, and that means the target's way up here now, right? So that's why we pass on stuff like that. Now, if this small red candle here can be small and close small, and then we get a breakover, that'd be an opportunity again to study it. But because there's a decrease in volume, we don't want to actually trade this, right? 5 of these volume candles in a row are red. There's no reason for us to be looking for strong directional bullish volume because we're not going to see it. It's not sustained yet. And this one here, you see the volume is nice and low, and then it peaks, and then it falls right off, and then it peaks, and then it falls right off. So this tells us it's time to kind of stop looking at stuff, right? We knew pre-market, the volume across the board was very low. Okay, so it's just one of those days where we don't want to try to force stuff. Does that make sense? STI, yeah, that's the one I was just looking at. So again, you've got descending volume and then a spike in volume, right? So unless this next couple volume, the next couple candles here, next couple minutes can exceed 3.5 million shares per minute, you're not likely to see good, strong, sustained directional volume on that. And given that DRRX and SLRX are less appealing now, the likelihood of STA getting that volume is good, but it's still very risky, right? Take a look at SoFi. Why don't you tell me what you like about SoFi? What do you like about that one? Tammy's already lacking profits on it. Oh, we got Manic in the chat. What's up, Manic? Love the name. Pleased to meet you. Looks like SLRX halted again. Look at that. Insanity. So the lifers know, right? This is a good, setup, right? It's a good setup for the 5 candle situation here, but there's an absence of volume, right? So this is only good for that 25% pullback that we can seek, 90% of the time. And that is going to be again at 220. So 220 seems to be the magic number for all these stocks today, apparently. So from here to here, specifically from here to here, that would have been the trade right there. And that is a 2.28% risk profit potential. Manic, do I do crypto as well? The technical analysis stuff I teach applies universally to any chart, except maybe like an EKG, I guess, because you don't want like a winky back. You can't trade that. You just die at that point. It's a heart block. But when it comes to supply and demand stuff, we can definitely apply all the concepts. So no, I don't actively trade crypto anymore. I used to, but I make more money in the stock market. It's just faster and easier. I do have some crypto. I am still holding some of the sad boy. And I think I have some Ethereum. I think I'd have to look. It's been a long time. But no, I don't actively trade crypto. Rito says, I'm learning, but I was wondering if it looks like it'll make it back to the orb. All right, so for those who don't know, the orb is the opening range break. So let's look at SoFi. Let's go ahead and draw it out, right? We'll do this for you. We'll do the 15-minute. We'll draw the orb, which is the first 15-minute range of the candle. Then we go to the 5-minute. We look for a close outside that range. We didn't get it. And then we've got the 1-minute, which is still in the range. So you're using a different orb strategy. And I'm assuming you mean the pre-market highs and lows? Or what is your specific criteria for the orb? Because we're still in the opening range. And if you think about it, right? Opening range break means you need the opening range. So if you're using pre-market stuff for the opening range break, you're not really using an orb strategy. You know what I mean? And that's something a lot of YouTube videos, I see a lot of YouTube videos just get that wrong. Just like with volume and price. Like people think that when the price goes up, there's more buyers. That's not the case. What levels do you have plotted for your orb? Just so I see what you're looking at. Because when this thing opened, it just shot up to 25.11. AEHL dropped off? Probably, yeah. Ooh, yeah, look at that. That's why we get out, boys. Oh, my God. Oof. All right, we'll circle back to that because I want to talk about that. Okay, so you got 2511 and 2503. So let's move this up here. So 2503. Okay. So what specifically are you viewing here? The 2301? Okay, I got you. Okay. So you're looking for the top of the range is what you're looking for, because we're in the opening range right now. We've been in there all day. Just so you and I are kind of on, okay. All right, I just want to make sure. So you're just looking for it to break out of the range rather than get back to a range because it's in there. Okay. So I just want to make sure we're saying the same thing. You know, it could, right? But again, my job isn't to predict. I can't do that. That's not reliable. It's not something I'm good at. It's not something anyone's good at. Like nobody can predict where the price will go. My job instead is to develop a thesis and say, okay, well, if I have these two price points, right, 2511 and 2301, and I want to trade between them, okay, where do I get the best risk opportunity and where do I get the best reward opportunity within those risk areas, right? So if I come down to the 1 minute and I say, okay, well, I'd like the price to come up to 2511, but I need some way to minimize my risk in order to get it from wherever I'm trying to buy it up to 2511. So I need a couple of things to happen, right? First, I need some sort of pullback to give me a low risk opportunity because that pullback is going to be effectively my risk range. And then I need to make sure that the price is going in the direction that's going to get me to 2511 after that. Okay. So unless those two things line up, I'm not going to get a good entry opportunity unless I just try to grab a piece of a bullish move and I happen to be right and it doesn't pull back. Right. So if I wanted to, for example, if this candle here closes in the next 30 seconds with, you know, without going down any further, right? And instead well, if it turns into a red candle, let me just erase this. We'll just use what is, right? I'll just draw this. And this is a wider risk range, right? It's 0.73%, which is good, you know, in my opinion. It's a nice low risk range. And then we want to use like a 1 to 3 risk reward. So if the price goes over here, there's potential for it to break up to 2511 and hit my target, right? It's not a bad trade. You're new, right? So ask all the questions and don't ever feel like I'm trying to pick anything apart. I'm just showing you kind of what the mindset should be for your trading. Because a lot of people just jump into this trying to make money and they don't really jump into it with the intent of preserving money. And that's your job. Because once you figure out how to keep your money, the money that you do make in the market will count for more because you won't be giving it right back. Okay. So that's your job above everything else. Yeah. If anybody ever gives you a hard time about wanting to learn, come straight to me. Like don't engage them. Just come straight to me. I'll break their thumbs. We'll mess up their kneecaps. We'll make sure they have a hard life because I want people to ask questions and learn, right? This is your future. It's not theirs. Accidentally jumped in pre-market instead of opening range break. Usually wait for both to break. You can do that. I mean, the pre-market range, you know, you want to see a magic trick, buddy? Here, I'll show you something cool. Pick any high and any low. Ideally, they're close together. That's an opening range. Okay. Don't put too much emphasis on this first few minutes or any specific set of ranges. This just tells you how wide the volatility is at open. And that just kind of gives you like an established range for volatility, which is great. You know, we can do that on the larger cap stuff, but don't feel like that's the end all be all for analysis, because what you can do is you can just consistently whittle this range down into smaller and smaller groups. Oops. And then you could just trade a range break of those. I don't know why my thing's being weird. I'm using this high and this low here. Well, we'll use this low, I guess. Right? Because guess what we got right here? We have a quote unquote opening range break. All right, we've got a range break. And in that range break, we've got a small risk opportunity. My thing just shifted. We got a low risk opportunity and we've got a disproportionately larger reward. Right? So now instead of taking that opening range, that entire range worth of risk, you know, you've now got 0.41% risk. So less than 0.5%. Okay. And I want everyone to just internalize that concept alone. Because then we can take it a step further. You want to take it a step further? Just a 1 in the chat if you want to make your risks stupidly small. Duco does not. He wants large risk. So instead of using the moves, the peaks, the pivots, what's to stop you from just using any one candle? Right? Just pick a candle, guys. Any candle, right? If the price is going up when you buy it, and you know that up is the direction it's going to make you money, you control how much up you endure, and you control how much down you endure. All you have to do is make sure you endure a lot less down than up, and you'll be fine. Does that make sense? Now I can show you that, and I can walk you through examples in real time and all that good stuff like we try to do on these streams. But when it comes down to actually pushing the buttons and, you know, executing, that's where the hard part comes in. Like this part's the easy part. It's just shapes and colors. And, you know, other YouTubers aren't going to tell you that because they want to shove stuff down your throat and they want you to blindly subscribe to systems and stuff. But your job is just to make money and not lose it. So, you know, losses are what takes most traders out of the market. So let's focus on those. You want to take this even a step further? DVDs are outdated. No, please don't copy trade. I'm excited for you. You guys wanna learn something stupid? We're reducing the number of dimensions here. So I'm going to take this box for this candle, and I'm just going to do that. I can have a 1 cent stop loss if I want on all my trades. As long as my concepts are maintained and they are high quality setups and I'm comfortable taking 1 cent losses, there's no reason I can't use a strategy like that. Okay. So I don't want anyone here to feel like they have to take huge risks in the market. And if you're taking, you know, 40% losses left and right, you're not going to be in the market very long, and you deserve better. You know, you found yourself, you found a way into the market, and more importantly, you found a way here. So let's make the most of it. You know, don't throw your money away without a fight. STAI, there we go. So it looks like we got our break, right? This is kind of what we were looking for. And we did hit our 150 level. I wasn't watching it because I was looking at other stuff. But does that make sense? We established a range, we watched for a break, and then it just shot straight up into our level. What's up, Adrian? You catch me at the worst times. I'm about to leave, buddy. I'm just kidding. I'll hang out a little bit longer. I'll probably end the recording. Let me end the live streams and stuff, just so that other people don't have to watch more of me not trading because I'm already done for the day. So let me put the link here in the chat on social media, and then I'm going to end this recording. You guys click that link. You can join us in the Discord, and I'll hang out with them here in a little bit. Thank you all for watching, and I'll post the recording on my socials. I'll speed it up, and it'll look like a chipmunk. It's fun.